I felt very much at the beginning that Riva was taken away from you physically, but also in another dimension, because everybody she suddenly became the world's, and she was this one-dimensional pretty girl. But there was more to that. That was only a tiny bit of Riva. Can you tell us a little bit more about the real Riva? Who was the real Riva?
She was full of life and love for everyone. She was always helping her friends because she had a nurturing nature. She was extremely intelligent. And in the book, it's in the book where I tell you that when she was 12, she became my mother and I became her daughter, because she had far more brains than I had and far more, but she was so loving and caring, and she actually was fun to be with as well. She attracted a lot of people because of her personality. She had a very vivacious, she was always laughing, and she took things in her stride. She didn't have an easy time. Things went wrong for her, like it goes wrong for everyone, but she would rise above and come stronger out of it.
I mean, the images that we saw of her and the way she was presented in court, was that the real Riva? Was that just some of Riva? How did you feel when you were sitting there and hearing about this person being spoken about that was your daughter?
It was very hard, because I think that Oscar was very unkind to her. And when those texts came through, you know, I thought you'd be proud to go out with me, and instead you picked on me incessantly. And you didn't I mustn't chew gum, and I must wear this and not wear that. And he didn't treat her very nicely. He was all about him. She was to be one of his accessories, but she was her own person. She was too strong for that. She could never have been Mrs. Pistorius, or even the fiancée of Mrs. Pistorius, because she was her own person. I think, in fact, her publicist said they didn't want her to become too involved with him, because she was becoming her own person, her own public figure. But that's what she was like. But she loved everyone. She had so much love to give to everyone.
As a mom, I mean, you knew her better than anybody. Why do you think she was interested in him? What do you think the attraction was?
Well, initially it was he took her around to these children who had just got their prosthetics, and he kind of looked after them and showed them how they must walk on it. And that's the first impression that she got. And then she still wasn't sure of the situation. I think it just happened. They were attracted, obviously, tremendously to each other, but I think that she had her doubts. She said at one stage, you know, I don't think we're compatible, and I don't think you are happy, and I'm certainly not happy. So maybe this is not going to work. She actually said that in the text to him.
The sense that I got from the relationship during the trial was it was an exhausting one. There seemed to be so much tension and between schedules and fitness and weight and appearances, and it just sounded very tiring to me.
And what did he say? He said she has to know about the way I have to eat, and when I have to sleep, and when I must rest, and when I must do this. So it was all about him. The one day she said that he was cross with her because he had a bit of a scrap with her, and then he decided to leave. So he took off to the exit, and then she walked. She had very high heels on, so she had to walk slowly. And then he was cross with her about that she took so long to get to when he was leaving. That sort of controlling, he didn't like her to talk to people, or it was almost like he wanted her all to himself. But she had people, when they went to events, who wanted to see her as well. It wasn't just about him, but he obviously had previous relationships where he controlled the person.
Do you think that the relationship would have lasted? You mentioned in the book you thought maybe she was going to break it off with him that evening.
I think so. That is my thought. But we all have our thoughts in our head. Only Oscar knows. Only Oscar knows the truth, the real story. There's a huge chunk of the real story missing. And only Oscar knows that.
June, the hard bit, that phone call from Hilton Botha. As a mother, it's the phone call that everybody dreads. What happened that morning?
That morning was just a shock to me. I didn't believe it. We had a friend of ours staying with us, and he said he will never, ever, he's never spoken to anyone about it, but he will never, ever get over it. Because I was hysterical, I was screaming, I went into he just said to me, there's been an accident. There's been an accident, and your daughter's been shot. And I said, you better tell me now, straight away, is she dead or alive? And he said, I'm sorry that she's passed away. So imagine myself at 7 o'clock in the morning getting this call on Valentine's Day. Well, it's not that it matters that it was Valentine's Day, but I mean, I spoke to her when she arrived at his place, and they were going to spend the evening together to celebrate Valentine. And I don't know, I just went into almost into another space. I just wanted somebody to come and knock me out, and then I was wake up and it's not true. It was just too much for me. It was too much for any mother. No mother could handle that. You're a mother, you will know. No mother can handle that.
Does that sense of being kicked in the stomach, does that ever go away?
No. It's still there. In my soul, in my heart, it's still there. It will always be there. It's never... He's taken something away from us, the most precious thing in our life away from us. And he's taken her life, which is probably more important, because she was really working hard and going somewhere and happy with the way she was going. She would do a law degree later on, but she was enjoying doing what she was doing on the Tropica, and people were giving her invitations to movies, to make movies, and she was becoming her own person. She was her own person already.
The court process, it's so brutal and bare. Why did you decide to be at the trial?
I only went for the first day. Doob said to me, we'll go for the first day and see how you cope with everything, and see where you can make up your mind, because I said I wanted to be there every day. And he said, you don't have to be punished like this every day. So I listened to Doob, and I went for the first day, and then I came home again. And I sat there for 2 days, and I thought, I can't do this. I have to. I was compelled to go back. I have to be there for Riva. You know, and with him seeing me in the court, he has to know that I am there, that he's taken my child's life. And I want him to see me. I want him to be disconcerted and affected by me being there. And also to listen what's going on, to be there for her.
Neighbour, is that door open? Can you close it for me, please? Yeah, I just suddenly heard that. There's always something. You kind of wanted to sort of shake him and just say, look at me and tell me what happened.
He was almost unbalanced. When
I think he was on a lot of medication. That's what I understood. June, you wanted to be there for Riva, and you wanted to look Mr. Pistorius in the eye.
Yes, I did. I didn't particularly want to speak to him or anything, but just for him to see that I was there.
When you saw him for the first time, what was that like?
It was a hard thing. It was a really hard thing. Here's the man who's shot my daughter 4 times and she's dead. How is any mother going to feel towards that person? It took quite a while to settle myself and just concentrate on what was going on. But I couldn't resist looking his way, looking at the person who'd done this to her. I can't believe that anyone could do that to her. She didn't deserve, no one deserves to be treated like that and then to be mowed down with no escape. She had no escape in that little bathroom. She had nowhere to go, not even 2 centimeters either way could she have avoided those bullets. So no matter who would have been in that toilet, they would be dead. So even if it was a burglar, as he said, that person that would be taking a life away. And why didn't he just walk out with her? If the guy's locked in the toilet, why didn't he just walk out with Riva and let her go? That's my opinion. Would have been taken him 3 minutes maybe to walk out of that house, to get away with her.
Why do you think she locked the door? Was it normal? Was she the sort of person who was self-conscious when she went to the loo?
No. She was afraid. She was afraid. Why would anyone do that, actually, with a person that you know? Why did she have their phones in there? You don't even know if she called someone. She could have easily called someone. But then they didn't get all the records, did they, from the phone?
Did you get the phone back, her phone's
No, I didn't
back?
get it back yet. I've asked for it. And her clothes, which were packed also, ready to go.
And you say she wouldn't have, I mean, she was a very particular person. She wouldn't have...
Left her clothing lying around ever. She was meticulous about things like that. She repacked her cupboards every week.
What do you
Much to my astonishment, because
what do you think happened that night? What, as a mum, what's your gut sense?
I think they had an argument and she went to hide. That's what I think. I'm not saying anything more than that, because only he knows the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
When we saw you in court, you, for me, you said in the book, people think I'm strong, but I'm not. Was that your coping mask that you were wearing?
I could just move into a space where I would just be isolated from everything else except what was going on.
And the flashing of the cameras and that sense that everybody was staring at you all the time. What's that like?
That was hard. That's like being under a microscope permanently. And you don't, well, I actually don't know what people expected me to be like. The one psychologist came on and she's on the TV and she said, June will either cry or she won't cry. But whatever she does, if you don't cry, then they'll say something, and if I do cry, then they'll say something.
You also said in the book, if I broke down, everyone was watching me.
Yes.
That sense of, I don't want to lose control here, now.
No, I'm a very private person. And I try to keep my dignity throughout. And I think I managed that, I hope I did. But at the same time, then you don't communicate with other people about what's going on with you. And then at one stage, I had to see a psychologist just to let it all out. I cried from beginning till end with that. But I felt a little better, relieved when I came out of there.
Do you think Riva was in love with Oscar?
I think there was a basic attraction, but it became difficult later on with his controlling, and she not being a person who would be controlled. I mean, do you ever expect someone's going to kill you if you just don't expect that, do you? But the very fact that she locked herself in the room means that she was afraid of something. And how can he be, if he had seen her, he couldn't say that he didn't know it was her in the bathroom. And she would have, the one shot would have been really painful, the first one. She would have been crying and screaming and carrying on and maybe begging for her life. Well, don't you think she would have been begging? I think she would have been. But anyway, it's not for me to decide. It's up to God now. And I think that God is still busy with Oscar. So let's see what happens.
Riva, are you picking up that lawnmower?
No.
Oh, okay, thank goodness. June, that very public apology from Oscar when he took the stand for you, what was going through your mind when that was happening?
Well, do you think sorry is good enough when you've killed someone? It's just not enough. It's not enough. And in front of the whole gallery there, he comes now with his apology before he gives his evidence. Now, isn't that more tactical than anything? And is sorry enough? No, it's not enough. You can't say sorry if somebody's died and you've killed them. You can't say sorry. It's just not good enough.
What do you think he should have said?
Nothing. Been better to keep quiet.
Did you think that you would hear the truth in court? That what
I
really
did.
happened?
At one stage when he threw himself kind of backwards and was broken in a way, I thought, now this is it. This is it. He's going to speak the truth. But no. I did think that.
If he asked you to meet with you in prison, or would you ever meet with him and chat with him?
I would like to see him face to face, and then I can just tell him how what he's done. He's destroyed my husband and I's lives, because she was the most special person, most caring, loving, always doting on us, and we always doting on her. We just loved her. It was a special, she was a gift from God, and he took that away. That's all I would want to say. Do you know what you've done to us and what you did to Riva? You've taken her life, her career. She's never going to have a baby. She's never going to have a wedding. Not long before that, she was talking about, now I want to have babies and I would like to get married, and that's gone. He's taken that away from her.
What would you, the past 2 years, that phone call turned your life upside down. If you have to think back, how would you describe it?
The time after that, that's 2 years.
Yeah, these 2 years of
well, it's just been
purgatory.
agony. It is purgatory, yes, purgatory. I've been through purgatory and heartache and pain, and it's like, and physically, I haven't been feeling well. I'm feeling much better now. But through that time, up to today, I'm much stronger physically, because I was actually not strong. I didn't even want to eat, or, you know, the thing is, you've got to sustain yourself. So I just lost a lot of weight and just always crying and in pain. And in the court I had to hold it in, so it gathered together inside, and it would come out eventually at some unexpected time. I'll be driving my car, or I'm in the supermarket, and I just, for no reason, it comes out. You've got no control over when you get these emotions.
I always say the trial and that time straight after the murder, and everybody's at the house and everybody's phoning you, and there's all this attention on you, and you're dealing with all this stuff, and then when everything dies down, the circus has moved on, you still don't have Riva.
Exactly. It's devastating. Even yesterday I had one of those moments. I was thinking, you know, what she could have done in her life, especially for abused women. You know, that she could have She could have done, she had such a way of communicating with all race of people. All people loved her. And she would have got through to the younger people. She would have made a difference in South Africa. And he's taken that away as well from her. But now I've got that legacy that I must carry on and do that.
Let's talk about that legacy, because I know that you've been very busy.
Yes.
Trying to make something positive out of such a terrible thing.
Something as good has come out of it in a way. It doesn't compensate you in any way, but it just, I think it makes you feel better, because I'm nurturing other people. I would like to be nurturing Riva still, but I'll be nurturing other people and try and save a few lives. If I save one life, I'll have done well in my life, don't you think? I'm at the beginning of that journey. But I'm going to New Zealand now to help them, to promote, because everyone knows me. So if I go to them now and speak in New Zealand, because they've been they've had their centre for 25 years, it's their anniversary now. So they want me to go and to promote their centre. So that's already helping someone else to get.
And I think
there's so much going on in the world, and it does concern young girls, and they're disappearing every day. 15-year-old girls are disappearing every day. We have to do something about it. You can't just sit back and say that's a terrible thing. You've got to do something about it. So I'm going to raise money, and I'm going to build my own centre and help anybody that I can help.
I get the sense maybe Riva would say, "Thanks, Mum."
She would. She'd be proud of me to do that. That was what she would want me to do. I just don't know if I'm going to live long.
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Just going back to the trial, the book, you talk about the feathers.
Yes.
And I love that, because that's something I have in my family too, is the sign, the feathers.
Yes. Well, we had an agreement, Riva and I. I mean, can you imagine me sitting down with maybe when she was 12 or 13 and talking about how we'd feel if one of us died, because we would be devastated. And I said, well, what we must do is, and she agreed, we must have a pact. So if one of us passes away, they must let the other one know that they're safe and they're well. And I took the feathers as a sign from her. And they were everywhere, in place where there's no wind blowing through the window. And
in court there was a feather.
Court there was a feather, but another strange thing happened. There was a white dove outside the room that they gave me. It came and I saw it. It sat outside the room. And I thought, now that's also a sign, a white dove, because all the feathers were basically white. So when we did the ashes, we also let, I think, 40 doves go. And they went around into the sea where we'd put the ashes, and they came back, and then they went out again. It was just amazing. So that was also a connection for me afterwards, because of what we'd discussed.
How's Mr. Steenkamp? I know he had health issues.
He's a lot better. He had a stroke because of it. It was a small stroke, but still, a stroke is a stroke. It's something that goes through your brain, and his whole one side of his face dropped, but now it went back again the next day. So it was a minor one, but it's a warning, because he gets very, very upset about Riva, and he gets into a state. So we've sorted that out now. So when he gets like that, he's got medication to take to prevent him having another heart attack. But I didn't think he was strong enough to go to the court.
It's pretty grueling physically to sit there all day.
It was.
You get thirsty, you get hungry, it's hard benches. I mean, it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And you never know what's going to happen next. That's the whole thing of not knowing. And then there was great histrionics from Oscar as well that were distracting. When he was vomiting and all that, and having these crying sessions. And we had to have a lot of adjournments because of that. Although that's not really important, but I mean, it's all part of what was going on. It wasn't a nice experience that was going on. It was a horrible, terrible experience.
When did you let go, and when were you able to start grieving your daughter's death?
I haven't done that yet properly, because there's always something. Every day there's something to do with what happened. In a way, you are growing strong. You know, you grow stronger and you get used to it's happened, it's real. When you face up to, only now I feel it's real. She's not coming back, but I'll see her again one day.
Did you ever at one stage just have a good cry, one of those cries that you just can't stop?
Lots of those. It was very emotional. Very hard for him. I think sometimes women are stronger than men in a way. But she was so special to him, to both of us. So it was just terribly, terribly hard. Still.
And the animals? Did they pick up this crazy stuff going on in the house? They're so sensitive, animals.
They are. And I have Riva's cat. And he was never friendly. People used to say, I've never seen your cat. But now he wasn't friendly even towards Barry, because he was Riva's cat. Then she gave him to me when she went to Johannesburg. And now he's friendly with everyone. Everyone who comes in the house is there and inspects them. And he's changed since she's gone.
Why did you decide not to pursue the civil claim?
Because I don't want his money. In a way, it would be just blood money. I don't want that. I don't want anything to do with his money.
How did you cope with all the talk, if you like, or the reporting, if you like, about the money that you did receive from him? Did that take you aback a bit about the drama surrounding that?
It was very ugly. Some of the people were very ugly. I remember the one person who I did a radio interview with, and he said, how could you take money from somebody who's murdered your daughter? I said, you know what? You are making me feel so uncomfortable now and ashamed. But that money was supposed, we were destitute, we were absolutely bankrupt, and that money was supposed to come out of the civil case, which was pending already. But now, it's with the attorneys now. He's getting all his money back. He doesn't want it, but this is what we've arranged now.
Do you think you'll ever meet up with Oscar and have a chat to him?
I wouldn't like to go to the jail, to be honest. I don't think I would like. I'd be a little afraid to go to the jail. I was afraid to go to the court. So, I mean, if I must now go to jail, I don't know if I'll be able to handle that.
Do you think there's...
But I would like to speak to him and just... It's not going to be pleasant for him, the thing.
June, when you talk about the limbo, the purgatory, do you still feel a bit in that?
I do very much so. It's overwhelming sometimes, the soreness in your heart and your soul. I sometimes think, why did she have to leave? Why was she taken away? Why?
The past 2 years, have you changed at all?
I have. I think I'm more... I've always been a nurturer of myself. Always want to help other people, and I love people. So, she was a lot like me in that respect. But you do become... Sometimes you become quiet and you don't want to speak. That is part of the grieving, I think. Because you can't handle what's actually happened in reality. Whereas in the beginning I would perhaps think, is this a dream, a nightmare, where I'm going to wake up and, you know, and it's not going to be true, because that's what I would have wanted. But when it really comes home to you, it's very hard to live without her. Very hard. But I can talk about it now. It's not, you know, before I couldn't. I was far too emotional to talk. But now I'm fine. I've come to terms with it, but it's forever going to be missing her.
When I was reading the book again last night, I got this overwhelming sense that I just wanted to grab my little ones and just, I don't know, protect them. And I feel as a parent, maybe you feel, I wish I could have protected you more. You couldn't have, but that sense
No,
of...
I did. We both, because from the day that she was born, we doted on her. She doted on us. I didn't go to work for 4 years so that I could be with her, to make her feel secure. I needed to go to work, but I didn't. I made a decision. I'm going to be with her until she's 4 years old. Then I will go to work. Well, I was always working in any case, but I took those 4 years just to be with her. And I think that's what most mothers must do. And then when I find some other mother who has a young teenage daughter, I always say to them, just watch everything so carefully. Be awake. I didn't know Oscar had guns. I didn't know that he had a temper. I didn't know any of these things. And I think if you have a daughter, especially men can look after themselves, but even they need influencing on how to treat women. If they're not in the right environment, they learn, oh, this is what daddy does, then it's fine. And a lot of children are in those families where the abuse goes on, and they run and they hide from it. But watch your daughters and protect them, and teach your sons the right way of caring for your sisters and your mother and your grandmother. We seem to have lost. We can't just sit back and say everything's fine. It's not. So I always say to people who've got daughters or sons, that's very important that you watch what they are doing and communicate. Even though we had no chance to save Riva. We didn't know she was in Johannesburg. Maybe the other family knew that she stayed with, the people she stayed with for 7 months. They must have known what was going on. I didn't know. And it's a wonder that nothing was said about that. But anyway, on reflection, sometimes you don't want to interfere, but sometimes you have to interfere.
Do you ever get little pockets of joy in your day back?
Yes. I am that kind of person. I won't be walking around. I try and be involved in what I'm doing, and when I'm busy. I like to be busy, distracted.
If you've got one message for, probably they're allowed TV in prison, and I know they're probably allowed ETV, but if there's one thing you could say to Oscar without having to face him directly, what do you think that could be?
The enormity of what he's done. The enormity of that he's killed my child. And what we've lost. She was priceless, and she was so wonderful, and we've lost that, taken away from us. And he took her life and her future away. That's all that I would say to him. What have you done? What have you done?
Does it matter to you whether his sentence is extended in an appeal if Gerrie now wins?
I think I leave that up to God. He's in charge of this. He will, whatever happens is up to him. It's not going to change my life. Because she's not coming back.
Do you ever wake up some mornings and think, today will be different, she will come back?
No. It's real to me now. It's very real. I know that I have to learn to live without her. That's what we both have to do, Barry and I.
I think that's it. I think you were amazing.
She is very good.
Well done.
Speaking from my heart. That's what I do.
No, it's wonderful.
And it's easy to tell the truth. I just speak the truth.
But I also think, June, that you really have got a lot to give in terms of other people. I mean, I think you found a purpose that maybe you hadn't thought of before this. Maybe that's why Riva was so good at what she did. So I think there's something quite special in that.
Thank you.
You really, it's amazing. You can feel when someone speaks from the heart. I've been doing it for a long time, and I can tell.
I've been listening to June forever, and every single time I still get goosebumps.
Yeah.
It's incredible.